All right, so we are already recording. I'm going to give it 1 minute until noon and then we're going to get started. I am excited to share this information today, so I'll see you in a minute. Welcome to Stabilize and Scale. Today we're going to be talking about the 7 essential tools that every entrepreneur needs to kick ass in a post-pandemic world, although post-pandemic is debatable depending on where you live right now. My name is Katie May. I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a moment. If you are here, welcome. Please feel free to put questions in the chat, put answers in the chat as well as we go through the presentation. You should have, we'll go here first. You are in the right place, all right? If you are an entrepreneur who was made for big things, hopefully you think of yourself as an entrepreneur and not just a therapist. You're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. If you have a brain that lights up like a Christmas tree with new ideas that make you money, you know, you're thinking, you're having these clarity breaks, you're sifting through like all of these ideas and inspiration that are coming into your brain and coming into your life. And then you make meaning and you make money from it. And that's the true essence of an entrepreneur. Or maybe you're someone who's had rapid growth throughout this past couple of years and it was rewarding, but also exhausting. And what you need is a repeatable process for success that you can leverage at scale without the struggle. And we're going to talk today about what happens when you start to grow and what happens when you start to scale and how that sometimes leads to a breakdown of your processes and a breakdown of what was working before. So if you have the course, if you purchased, you should have the workbook within the course content. If you want to grab it from this URL real quick, feel free. I'll take a moment now to let you know that I will be going through some prompts that will be interactive, and you can feel free to use the chat if you're here live to respond to questions. Use the Q&A button to ask questions and I'll respond to them at the end. This is an encore of a live presentation that I did in Nashville for an audience. So some of what you'll see will be adapted for an online presentation, but you'll still get the same value for what we're sharing here today. House rules, please be chatty. I love interaction. It lights me up and it makes me more engaged in the process. Friend me on social media, screenshot, tag, share, please shout from the virtual rooftops what it is that resonates with you, what it is that you're taking away from this presentation, because my goal is always the ripple effect, being able to share what worked for me and made an impact on my community so that you can make an impact on your community and you can share what worked for you with other people, right? So we're making an impact on our communities and the ripple effect of making an impact across the nation, across the globe, because we're helpers and that's what we do. Who am I? I am a Linehan board certified DBT therapist. I've devoted my professional career to working with high-risk teens. I own 3 locations of a teen support center in the greater Philadelphia area. I have about 20 employees, give or take. I am an online course creator. Some of you may have the Fill Your Group Fast workshop where I teach therapists to market, fill, and run groups in private practice. I have a podcast called Group Work where I invite therapists on to talk about their therapy groups. I own my buildings and I have a goal to own more real estate. It's part of my investment in building equity for my future and my child and building wealth in diverse ways. I'm also an EOS consultant, entrepreneurial operating system, which is what we're going to dive a little bit more into today so you'll understand what that looks like. I'm going to tell you a story about my experience in the past couple years, and then we're going to go into some more concrete tools and how you can apply what I learned and what I struggled with and overcame to your situation so you can shorten the struggle for you. Creative Healing is my teen support center, and it actually started as a journal entry in 2017. I opened Creative Healing in April 2017, and you'll see the date here is November. So before I even opened the doors, before I even started looking, I was writing in journals, things like my teen support center is thriving. I have a team of amazing professionals that are on a mission to save teens in our community right alongside me. So I was creating the process before I actually started taking action in the process. And I was creating this really clear vision in my head of how I wanted to make an impact in my life. And so what happened from there was I kept taking one step at a time, putting one foot in front of the other, thinking, what if? And at the time, I was a solo practitioner. I was renting space within a wellness center, and it was an office share space. So I rented 4 days a week. And at the front of this condo association community, there was this sign right here that said office space available. And so I thought, what if I just call and see what's available? And so I did. I called, I spoke to this little old real estate man, and he said, yeah, I have this 4-office suite available. I think it's within your price range. Why don't you come take a look at it? And then I thought, what if I just go take a look at it? I mean, it can't hurt to look, right? I'll just go look. There's no risk. So then I went, I looked at this space, I walked through, and I remember that day I came home, I talked to my partner, Adam, and I said, we have a problem. And he said, what? And I said, I saw this space and now I need it to be mine. And the vision was so strong for me that it was a done deal in my mind. There was no way, once I had attached to that outcome, that I could let it go, that it could not be something that I had. And so I made it real. So I opened that first teen support center. I hired 3 employees. I remember sitting on the ground doing interviews because furniture wasn't built yet. And our first 2 years in that space were scrappy and strong. We had small windowless offices, this famously shedding pink rug where people would leave for the night and they'd have like pieces of like pink yarn on their clothes or following them out of the room. There was this tiny front room to squeeze into to grab dinner from a mini fridge. I think we had like a string cheese each that we could fit in there and we would have between our sessions. We had a mouse problem at one point. So it was a whole mess, and yet it worked at the same time. We worked together to create something amazing. We became the reality of that journal entry. We were a collection of clinicians working together, creating positive change in our community, helping teens heal and create lives that they love. And then we glowed up and doubled our space with a brand new building in July 2019. We moved across the parking lot and I bought a space that was double the size of the one I was renting. So we doubled our space and slashed our monthly payment, and we were able to double our team as well. This is the second promotional video that we did, and that's a big bulk of our team that was there for that day, which was really fun. And then we tripled our locations in early 2020 with a 1-office suite in 2 additional locations. So we were widening the scope of the people that we could support by increasing our locations to these 2 separate places, each about 20 minutes from where the initial flagship location was. We celebrated. So this was one of our annual parties. It was the last time I've seen many of these people in person. And then we got hit with a global pandemic, literally the 3 days after that party happened. My bra went viral on the internet. That time 2.5 years ago, when we thought that we were only going to be out of commission for 2 weeks. But even in the midst of disaster, we grew in numbers, size, and strength. We careened into 2022 with some major wins as momentum. We acquired new locations. So each of our 1-office suites expanded into a 4-office suite. I bought a second building. We doubled our team. We kept spreading out and expanding our scope in new places. We won awards. So 2 years in a row, won the Philly 100 Award, which is an award that measures your revenue growth year to year. And we earned our place on the Philly Top 100 list 2 years in a row. We grew in size and status as a company. I'm sure many of you can relate to this as well. So we ushered in 8 new employees, 3 interns came and went, 3 new interns arrived. We take 3 graduate interns every year. We celebrated milestone moments. We had employees that were 2, 3, 4 years into the company, and we were approaching our 5-year anniversary as a business. And then we paused to be present with our personal lives. So as I'm sharing, I want you to consider something that you're grateful for, and go ahead and put it in the chat if you're willing. Every time I've run this presentation, it's hard not to cry at this point. But I was somebody who pre-pandemic, my son went to school, I got on my computer, I worked on my consulting business, I worked on, emails, admin, marketing, all of the things from like 8 to 3 o'clock. And then 3 to 9 o'clock, I would see clients, and I hustled and grounded out every single day. And I missed, a good number of years of family dinners, bedtimes, all the things. And so one of the things that came out of the pandemic for me was realizing that if I kept going at that pace, that I wouldn't be around much longer to be able to give back and do the things that I wanted to do and to be the parent and person that I wanted to be. And so I was able to enjoy more time with my family, get some of those dinners and bedtimes back. Yeah, Sarah says, grateful for my little kiddos and my private practice. I love that. I'm feeling that too. And so I think the ability to connect to the people that are important to us, the ability to have presence for what's important to us was one of the things that I recognized as a gift from the past couple of years. Another thing we did was build an entirely new anxiety and OCD concentration in our company. What I think is so amazing about this and what makes me feel really good and proud about this accomplishment is that I had nothing to do with it. I hired someone into a program lead and team development role who built an anxiety and OCD track, who trained our team on how to deliver these services, who reviewed tapes and recordings and supervised and shaped up a team and to be able to provide EXRP individual services, social anxiety and space groups at our center. And so it allowed us the ability to scale our services, our impact, without it being my energy and bandwidth in the process. Jessica says, I'm grateful for my husband who is so supportive and allows me to feel good about my kids being taken care of when I'm not home. Jessica, that's so important. I love that for you. And I know that is a gift because I've had that as well. I had a really supportive husband who was willing to do the bedtimes, do the tantrums, do the, all of those things so that I could build the practice that I have. Latoya says, I'm moved by your testimony. I currently create journals and sell them. I'm grateful for this part of my business and I'm working on starting my private practice. I love that. And Latoya, I'd love to hear more about your journals. Maybe at the end, we can link to that too. Okay, we continue to cultivate and strengthen our DBT concentration. Some of you may have the DBT cookbook. Another example of a great resource that we created to train our team and also to share with other therapists. And another thing that I was literally not involved in scaling our impact. So I hope you're getting some of this message here is that we were able to expand, scale, support more people. And it wasn't all coming from my energy and resources. It was empowering people under me who were in their place, they're, in their zone, in their unique abilities and able to contribute to the mission. And that's part of what we'll talk about today too, is how to gather, connect, inspire, motivate the right people to move towards your mission and your vision with you, which is, another thing I'm grateful for that we have. We trained others and owned our expert status. I had a subset of my team where we did a 6-hour symposium for the Expressive Art Summit in Teen DBT and art therapy. I had employees and other therapists guest on the Group Work podcast. We developed a company podcast. So we have a creative healing podcast that is for our group members, that for each group, we have a podcast that describes the skill. So if somebody misses group, they can go check out the podcast and listen to catch up. If somebody wants to strengthen their knowledge, they can go check out the podcast. So it really is like a value addition to the offers that we have within our practice. But the pandemic brought many new challenges too, like moving our entire operation online in a weekend. Let me hear it in the chat. Give me a yes if you also changed from being an in-person practice to going online within the course of like 2 to 5 days. I'm seeing the number in the chat rack up. Yes. Yeah. So we all hustled, right, to make something work. We had to pivot quickly in order to support our clients. I remember when I made the decision, okay, schools are closed for 2 weeks. And so we're gonna pause groups for 2 weeks because I need to figure this shit out. And we had parents who were very unhappy with this decision and saying like, my team needs group support now more than ever. And me having to observe my own limits in this situation to say, I understand, but we need our team to be ready, capable, and have the capacity to offer these groups in a way that they're intended to be offered. So we will see you in 2 weeks. And so, it was a difficult decision and a difficult process, but now we're all here and we made this work. Many of us working while getting COVID or caring for family members who were ill. I don't even have to ask you to imagine that because I know most of us lived that. Caring for kids in online school while navigating doing online therapy while also being a human in a global pandemic. This was my reality of like trying to do all the things, being a business owner, having a husband who's a business owner, having an only child in online school downstairs, like the shit show of all the things and trying to navigate them in this process. Our rapid growth due to the mental health crisis came with its own problems too. It's all fun and games until we hit the ceiling, as we say. We had a systems breakdown. Growing got confusing and overwhelming, and distance was making it more difficult too to ensure that quality assurance overall and make sure everyone was doing what they needed to do when they needed to be doing it. Our office coordinator was buried in waitlist overwhelm. We were 3 to 5 months deep in teens who needed support and no way to help them replace them, not because we wanted a waitlist, but because nobody in our community had openings. And it broke my heart to know that so many were suffering and there was no place where they could get the support that they needed. We said goodbye to 7 employees and played our part in the Great Resignation sweeping across the country. If I had a red marker that I could put on the screen, I would X out 1 more. We've said goodbye to 8. If I'm being completely honest, this almost broke me. If you follow me on my personal Facebook page, you know that the staff turnover and the people issues led to my own mental health problems and suicidal thoughts and all of the overwhelm that came with holding so much while having to take care of everyone else and not having the space to take care of myself. I will say that has changed and I am well and in a better place. But just want you to know the gravity of some of the things that have happened, not just to me, but to many of us throughout these past couple of years, because when I shared, I got all of the messages from people who said, me too, I've experienced this too. So this is very real. New buildings brought tension. I had a literal sinkhole in the new building that I bought that we had to resolve before we could put anybody in it. We had a moment where we thought we were going back. We spent so many hours preparing, prepping, consent forms, like whatever, all of these things. And then this new wave of the new strain or whatever came out. And then everyone was like, nope, we're staying home. And again, navigated numerous families' disappointments, complaints, letting people down while we're trying to support people. As a team, we had health problems and losses and personal challenges and burnout through the roof, which I know I'm preaching to the choir here that you've all experienced too. Several months into the pandemic, I hit my limit. I was in a session with an infamous client at our center, very high risk, doing very high risk things in session. My nervous system, even thinking about it, reacts. I opened my door to the awareness of my 12-year-old left alone, ignored all day, watching YouTube videos while me and my husband are trying to figure out our lives. And what I found was my husband crippled at the thought of reopening his salons. He owns hair salons. It was about 3 months into the pandemic and he had no choice but to open. You can't do hair by telehealth. And so this thought of, we don't really know what this is yet. I'm afraid to do harm to so many people, but we're going to go under. If I don't, I can't pay these bills. And so that was a moment when instinctively I took off my shoes and socks. I ran outside and I put my feet in the grass and I just started breathing because I couldn't breathe. My chest seized. I was having a panic attack. What I knew in that moment was that I couldn't keep holding everything together all on my own, and I needed something to change. My friend Michael, who I actually saw right before this, recommended a book called Traction. I had it on my shelf. We all know how we buy all the books and then we don't read them until we have the right moment to read them. I read it cover to cover very quickly. It was a simple framework that resonated with my desire to continue developing a values-aligned business that was also rooted in the data to sustain its success. Again, DBT practice owner, DBT therapist, I'm data-driven and I want to be aligned with my values and my intuition. And this felt like it had both sides. What I learned is that 50% of small businesses close before they hit 5 years. Remember, we were coming up on 5 years. Counseling centers were being bought out and beat out by tech companies and venture capitalists and better health and all the things. And I was determined to be on the winning side of statistics to forge our mission forward. What I learned is that every company has their bare feet in the grass moment. They call it hitting the ceiling. And it's that feeling of being stuck and frustrated when things get complex and chaotic. Give me a shout in the chat. Have you hit your ceiling? No, none of us have hit our ceiling. We're all good. Mine was last month, Jessica said. Well, you're in the right place. All right. There was a study done in the 60s how organizations grow. And what they learned is that they have periods of evolution and revolution where it's not a straight line. Just like in therapy, it's not a linear healing process that, we have these moments of growth and these moments where we get stuck and static and we may, have to work through some things and then grow again. And what they found is that one of three things can happen, that you can either break through, hit another ceiling later, break through that again. You can flatline, stop growing, or you can fail. And again, that 50% failed within 5 years. This is the way children grow. There's my baby boy going to his first dance tonight, 8th grade graduation. So grown a lot over the years, again, with periods of difficulty, revolution, and then growth again. In an entrepreneurial company, it will take effort, skill, and ability to navigate these growth spurts and these growing pains. And so this is what we're going to talk about today, some tools to work through that process. Hitting the ceiling is inevitable, but there is hope. What I'm going to do now is, again, get into those practical skills and tell you more about how I implemented and used these skills to simplify my business, to structure my business so that I could stabilize and then scale my business. All right, here we go. I see one question. Let's see what it is. Cheryl says yes. Wonderful. Okay, so even amidst this struggle, it was clear. Traction was the wise mind of business books. It was what we needed, and yet it felt like this kind of change would be like turning a cruise ship, a task requiring a great deal of strength and skill, and that in the process, it would create a lot of waves, right? Like, so if we're turning a cruise ship, it's going to take a shitload of time and it's going to create all of this havoc in the process. And I knew that that would be the case in this situation too. My assumption held truth, but what I knew for sure was this: when all else fails, we remember why we started. We come home to ourselves. We remember who the fuck we are. And then we come from that place to move into our business in a way that we're going to change things and move towards a future that's aligned for us. So the first thing I want to do is tell you about tool number 1, your mission statement. This is your why. This is reconnecting you to your purpose when you feel stuck and frustrated and overwhelmed. And like, again, I don't need to tell you that owning a practice, being a therapist, is tough stuff. And I'm thinking now about one of my employees who I just trained up to be a DBT employee. And about every 14 days, she comes to me and she asks me, or she says like, I'm not sure I'm cut out for this. I don't know if I can do DBT. I don't know if I want this. And so we had a really candid conversation last week where I said, like, number one, I can't keep doing this every 14 days. You're burning me out. So let's come up with another solution. Number two, like, maybe this isn't right for you. Maybe another population or another modality is right for you. And she asked me like, well, how do you do it? Like, how do you keep doing this hard work? And I had to share it because for me, this is personal. For me, this is what I was put on earth to do. And so doing the work of being with teenagers and helping them work through being more skillful in managing suicidal thoughts and self-harm behaviors is like, it's my purpose. And so it's my why. It's why I'm here. And that's why I can get through the tough stuff to keep doing it. And the same is true for you, whether you're, a group practice owner, a solo practice owner. Knowing why you do what you do is going to help you return to that purpose again and again when things get hard. So I want you to ask yourself, and we're going to be moving into some prompts now, and I'll pause to let you reflect on them. Number 1, why does your company exist? What is its purpose, cause, or passion? I'll give you my example, and then I'll pause to allow you to write yours. Please feel free to share it in the chat. We help teens realize that they're not weird, bad, wrong, or different for being exactly who they are, and we give them the skills to succeed and create a life that they love. That's my, English lit degree version of my purpose. It's why we exist. It's my passion. It's what we do. So let me pause and let you think about this for about 1 minute. Why do you do what you do? Put it in the chat. All right, Jessica, thank you. To provide excellent and effective clinical care to children and their families through evidence-based practice, I want to be known as the place you can take your kids and it will actually help. I felt that, yes, the place where things will actually help, where we're not spinning our wheels and burning our resources only to be in the same place in 8-9 months. Thank you, Jessica, thank you for what you do. So the second part of this, again, we reconnect to our values. We remember who we are. This is our values illustration that we have within our company. It is the values that we live by, that we embody, that we encourage in the people around us. And the second part, the second tool that I want you to consider, I see more answers in the chat, I'm going to come back to them too, is your core values filter. The question being, how close are you to being 100% surrounded by people who support you, your mission, and share your values? So this could be, friends, this could be online communities, this could be employees, this could be mastermind people. You want to be surrounding yourself with people who share your values. When I first started my practice, that first 4-office suite, I had an employee named Bree. And that first year, I had also bought a house. It was a big year for me. I started a group practice. I bought a house. I got a new car. I was like all of a sudden a successful adult all at once in 1 year. It took a long time. And so I had invited everyone over to my house for our annual party that first year. And I remember us all standing around my kitchen island. We were like dipping chips in different hummuses and guacamoles, as is my love to dip chips in different dips. I remember her talking about something. I'm not going to share really what it was because it's a controversial thing, but she's talking about this thing and it was very misaligned with my beliefs and values. And I remember thinking, I just want you to stop talking right now. And then I found myself when we were in the office together that I would avoid that small front room. If she was eating her cheese stick from the little refrigerator, I would just forego eating rather than be in the same space with her. If we were between sessions, I would close my door rather than keep it cracked because I wouldn't want to chat with her. And so what I was learning through my behaviors and my felt sense in my body is that this person who was so misaligned with my values was someone that I didn't want to be around. And honestly, I didn't build a business so that I could be in a building where I'm avoiding people that I'm employing. The good thing was she realized this too. And we were able to come together and have a really honest conversation about how our values were misaligned and how it didn't work for us to work together anymore. And I remember her statement was like, when I think about leaving my clients, I feel sad. When I think about leaving creative healing, I feel happy. And I was like, well, we have our answer, and we parted ways amicably, and we're both happier for it. Sarah said, it's what I feel I was meant to be doing. I love being a therapist. I love being a business owner. I'm passionate about providing evidence-based therapy and helping people feel seen and heard. I love it, Sarah. Yeah, so you know it's real and you know it's true because it's your passion. It's what you're meant to do. That connection is so important. All right, once again, I want you to make 2 lists. You're not going to have to share them. I want you to think about number 1, the qualities that you have that got you to where you are today. Maybe you're tenacious, maybe you're persistent, maybe you're a great connector of people, maybe you're honest and authentic, maybe you're a hustler, whatever it is, the qualities that have gotten you to where you are today. Number 2, the qualities that others have that you admire for their success. Maybe this is somebody who's able to gather people together well, that's a good marketer, that's really skilled at being the kind of therapist that you aspire to be. So I'm not going to give you a lot of time on today's training. You have the workbook, but I do want you to think about your 2 lists, qualities that you have and qualities that others have. And then where these 2 lists intersect are your company core values, right? These are the things that you have and that you want in the people around you. And when you bring them together, you're really developing the values that drive your business forward and that become the filter for the people that you allow into your lives and around you when you're running your business. Here's my real talk. As entrepreneurs, we are still scrappy and strong, even at the next level of success, right? What got you here will get you to your next step when you apply it in new ways to move you forward. We forge forward because the mission matters, because what you do and who you are matters. This is why I believe in you and your ability to scale to your next step. Which leads me to tool number 3, your schedule maximizer. All right, here's again, something I know for sure, the only way for your business to grow is for you as the leader of your business to build extensions of yourself and let go of responsibilities. Remember, DBT Cookbook, created by employees, sold by me, trained by employees to employees, build up our business. OCD, EXRP branch of my business, and empowered somebody else to develop, train, staff, all of the things. We were able to scale bigger because I empowered people to do things that excited them. Again, I want you to think on this. You have the workbook, come back to it. Write down everything you did in your business last week, right? Look at your calendar, pull up your Google Calendar, pull up your EHR, write it all down. I'm talking nitty gritty down to like answered emails for an hour and 13 minutes, whatever. I want you to write it all down. I want you to see how much time you spend doing all the things. I remember the first time I hired a call person, and I was so conservative at the start in that first 4-office suite. I was like, okay, Christina, this person I hired from Indeed, I'm going to start you at 10 hours, just 10 hours. You're going to answer calls. And like those 10 hours flew by. She was answering calls. She was scheduling people. And she was like, Katie, I need 15 hours. And so it kept growing and growing. And I was scared. I was scared to pay someone for something that wasn't revenue generating. And a couple of things happened. Once I allowed her the space to actually do all the calls that were coming in and have a regular schedule, I realized how much she was actually taking off my plate. And I was really like, holy shit, I was spending 20 hours a week doing calls, doing emails, doing, scheduling and billing. And I was seeing 24 clients a week. Like I was doing a lot. And so you'll realize how much you're doing when you start to empower other people. And you'll also realize what you can do with that space that has been taken up by other people. And so this is a tool that I use regularly. I actually use it quarterly. This is an EOS tool. It comes from that book Traction. It's called the Delegate and Elevate. And so what you're going to do with your list, once you have your comprehensive list, is that you're going to put items into 4 categories. You're going to put things that you love and that you're great at into this top quadrant on the left. So this might be doing therapy. It might be creating content for your social media, whatever it is, whatever you feel truly connected to and aligned with, you want to put in this top left column. To the right, you want to put things that you like and you're good at. For me, this is clinical supervision. I like it. I'm good at it. I don't like being tied to an appointment every week. I don't like reviewing clinical notes, but like I like it. I'm good at it. So I put it there, right? So you want to put things that you love, you're great at, you like, you're good at in these top 2 quadrants. Then you want to go down to the bottom. You want to look at what you don't like, but you might still be good at. So this could be doing intake calls. I don't like it, but I'm good at it. I can convert clients all day long, but I don't like being on the phone all day long. Everyone puts notes in this category. Unfortunately, you can't delegate your notes unless somebody has a strategy for that, but I certainly do not. And then finally, you need to be honest with yourself. What do you not like? What are you not good at? Maybe you're not good at doing intake calls. Maybe you suck at marketing. There's lots of things that you need to do for your business that you don't like and that you're not good at. I'm trying to think of what they are for me. It's actually hard for me to think about this because I've done this Delegate and Elevate every quarter for about 1.5 years. And I have nothing in my don't like, not good at category and very few in my don't like and good at category. And so that's what happens is over time, you're challenged to every quarter, give up and delegate something from one of these lower quadrants. And so I want you to assess to what degree are you doing what you love and what you're meant to be doing on a weekly basis. What are you willing to delegate this month, this quarter, this week? I made it a game. I started thinking about like how many things can I delegate and hand off to other people? And I'd be looking at my calendar like every week. I feel very free in my schedule now. Like I'm only doing things that I love. And I know that's a privilege that I have at this point. And I would encourage you to think about where you can make some of these changes. Which leads me to tool number 4, your process playbook. So this is your ability to simplify and systemize your practice so that you can have repeatable success for continued future growth without complexity, without conflict. Your systems are clear, documented, followed by all. They're consistent. They're able to scale so that you can have more profit and more fun in your business. This is one of the biggest places we were stuck, having grown so quickly. We hired like I said, 8 employees that all came in during the pandemic, all online, had never been in an office, had never been part of our community and culture. And so helping integrate them into our systems, making sure they understood them, making sure they were trained on them, making sure they were consistently following them, and that they had the resources and support to follow up and check in on them. This was something we were missing. And this is where things really fell apart for us before, my big feet in the grass moment. And what I learned is that the ultimate energy gatekeeper for scaling up is to have these systems in place. One of the first things I did after that foot in the grass moment was create a communication chain. So I hired up a leadership team and I made this document that was like, if you have this question, go to this person. If you have this question, go to this person. And so every question, every concern, every problem, every breakdown had a person assigned to be the problem solver for it or the answer giver for it. And none of those people were me. And that way I could kind of gatekeep my time, my energy, and have support in place. We created what I call the creative healing playbook. It has all of our processes in it. It's really quite beautiful in our back end. You'll see an image of it, a little bit of it, I think, on the next slide, where we have everything written processes, and then everything has videos as well to teach you, to show you and verbally walk you through it. I had handoff plans for all the tasks in my business. I'm going to show you an example of that as well. What I learned is that I am a visionary. I am somebody who has big ideas, who likes to maintain big relationships to be up here, right? But I suck at follow through. I suck at being the person that takes something down to the ground and moving it to the finish line. Who can relate to that? So what I learned was that if I can create and teach someone a process to bring it to the finish line, we can get so much more done because somebody is taking it the rest of the way and I can keep generating the big ideas. Here's an example of some of my systems handoff processes in action. So this is from our marketing side. So email list, blogs, social media. Let's see, at this point, interns write or submit blog ideas, and then my VA team takes them the rest of the way, gets them on our websites, shares them on our social media, all the things. Again, similar with social media, I record videos and then I have a team that pulls copy from them, creates picture quotes, brands them, puts them out into social media. So I create, someone takes it the rest of the way. And again, this picture on the right here, this is from our internal, I call it HIPAA compliant Facebook. It's called Blink, joinblink.com. And it really is like HIPAA compliant Facebook. It's a social space. It has a back end with folders, kind of like a Google Drive. What I want you to think about is, what are the first 5 things that come to mind when you think about what's not working in your business, right? Think about the bottlenecks, the breakdowns, what's confusing, what's complicated, what's taking up the most time and energy for you, what's the question that you keep answering again and again in different ways for different people. I want you to start here with making a list of the processes that you need to write out in your business. What I did in my business was actually designated someone to be the breakdown and bottleneck collector. I was honest with myself to know that if people emailed me with all the problems that were happening in my business, I would say it would be really hard for me. It would be a buzzkill. It would be a total downer, right? And I work really hard to manage my energy so that I don't feel like that. But I had somebody else who wanted to be really helpful and enjoyed gathering, organizing, listing, putting into the different categories. And so they were the person to collect all of these things. And then what we did is we actually got together, we spent a day writing out our processes and then training everyone on our processes at a different time, and then putting our quality assurance checks into place. And I'll talk about them in a little bit too. Tool number 5 is your accountability chart. So this is when you're going to take a big step back and get the right structure for your organization. I honestly think we don't think about this enough, but it's one of the first foundational tools that I teach when I do consulting. You want to crystallize everybody's roles. This reduces complexity. For me, it's the ultimate accountability tool, actually, because it shows everyone, here's who I report to. Here are the 5 functions of my role. Here's what's expected of me. Here's where I fit into this company. Here's why I matter in this company and how I contribute. And so it's really important to understand what your organizational structure is to know like how your business works together. Here's an example of a before and after of my accountability chart. So the first time I did this activity, I wrote out, what does my business look like right now? All of these yellow highlighted boxes are seats that I was sitting in, meaning they were roles that I was doing in my company. I was a therapist. I was the marketing manager. I did all the finances. I was the director of operations. I was the clinical director. I was a therapist. I was a supervisor. I was all the things, right? And so once I looked at that, it was a wake up moment for me, realizing no wonder I'm so stressed and overwhelmed. I'm doing all the things in my company. And so after a year of building up a leadership team and parsing out what's what in my business, you'll see like there's way expanded seats in my business, which has really supported me in being able to step back. I want to pause and think about, like, for some people, this feels scary. It feels like 1, giving up control, 2, giving up revenue. And what I can say is that I have strategy. I know how to read my P&L and know like where I can invest and what makes sense in terms of what I'm paying for in my business. And also you want to think about like, if I'm hiring people into these seats, what can I be doing to bring in revenue in these different ways? One example of that for me is like once I hired the right people into my company so that it could be more self-managing and run better without me, I'm able to do more things like this in the Group Guru community, where I'm able to do, talks and workshops and webinars, and I still have life energy for those things and to be a person and to have a family at home. And so you want to think about how everything kind of fits together and is symbiotic. And this means considering who, not how, right? It's not like, how do I get to my next level goals and what are all the things that I have to do to get myself there? It's who are the key people you need to move you towards your goals. For every accountability chart, there's generally 3 main departments. There's your sales and marketing department, which is your marketing and intake. There's your finance department, which is all money things and HR if you have them. And then there's your clinical department, which is your operations department, which is where most people focus. And I think that to the detriment of many businesses, especially therapists, they focus like 90 to 95% on clinical operations and kind of, maybe 5% on marketing, and then like wonder why things are confusing or not working well in their business. And so again, one of the things I do with therapists often is help them build out their accountability chart so they know what's what in their business. Because what I know is that with the right people in the right seats, you can grow to big things, right? When you have people that are rowing the boat in the same direction with you, rather than like poking holes in the boat or like rowing it in the other direction, you can move towards that big why. You can move towards the mission. That's the reason that you're doing this. I share this example here. A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago now, I went to Seattle with my family. First time I'd ever been there. I loved it. And we were in this beautiful hotel where the lounge on the first floor was floor to ceiling windows, and it was right on the water, and it was just like a coffee shop and a bunch of tables. And so every morning I would go down, I would get a coffee, I would sit by the water, and I would just journal and do my thing. And during that time, my leadership team interviewed a new candidate. First, my VA screens all my employment applications. My leadership team interviewed a new candidate. My HR consultant negotiated with the candidate and made the offer. And then the new therapist was hired and onboarded by my leadership team and onboarding team. And this all happened without me being in the process. And so this is what I want for you. If you're here, if you're watching, if you're catching the replay, is like whatever structure your business is, whether it's, solo, group, consulting, whatever, is to have the process that supports your life, right? Like having a business where you can also have a life in the process and having the right system so that it all works smoothly for you. And so we've talked about this a little bit already, but your unique ability. Unique ability is a Dan Sullivan term. He's an author and a coach, and it really means to do what you love and what you're best at. And the idea is you want to hire people who can do the jobs outside your unique ability better than you can do yourself. That's their unique ability. So I empowered that person in my business to collect all the processes and to organize them. I have people who are building programs that are things that I'm not passionate about, that are not my unique ability. And it allows me to stay in the space of doing the things that I love and that light me up and that energize me. I'm curious if anyone here knows what their unique ability is. A big part of mine is big ideas and creating. Who knows what their unique ability is? Visionary, yes, Jessica, I connect with that. All right, if you don't know, we'll learn together. So part of our unique ability as a company is that we help high-risk teens stay out of the hospital and learn the skills to build a life they love. We have teen specialty areas, and again, like our unique ability is we keep you out of the hospital, which I don't think every therapy center can say. Imparting passion in others as well. Love that, Jessica. You want to think about what your competitive edge is. What makes you unique? What sets you apart? What do you do better than anyone else? Again, what were you born to do? For our company, we blend evidence-based practices and creative modalities for a teen specialty. And all of our therapists are teen-only specialists. I actually talked to my intake coordinator's away this week, and I talked to somebody on the phone yesterday who was like, I resonated with your website because you specialize in working with teens, not teens and kids, not teens and adults, but just teens. And I have a teen and I want someone who specializes in teens. And I was like, yes, that's why we do it. It's like we have devoted our lives to this. And so you want to think about like, what's the thing that sets you apart? Maybe it's 3 things and together they make you different, but like somebody else might do evidence-based practices, somebody else might do creative modalities, but putting it all together with teen specialty is really what sets us apart. It's being able to do all 3 of these things. All right, we're not done yet, but we're going to recap where we are so far. You want to know why you started. You want to live in your values. You want to know who the right people are to row the boat with you in the same direction. And you want to have the processes for what to do every day. And you want to think about where you're going and how do you get there. I encounter a lot of practice owners who say like, how big is too big? Where do I want to go? I'm growing, but how far am I growing? What am I doing? What's my next step? And that's where your vision comes in. So what I want you to do is close your eyes, take a breath, maybe like shake out your shoulders. Notice if there's any tension in your jaw. Soften your face. If you were to look back and feel proud, fulfilled, and energized by your work, what would you see happening in your company? Imagine yourself 5 years from today. How would you notice success reflected in your work? How would this success impact your life, your family, your hobbies, your other passions? Reflect on that and share a word with me in the chat that summarizes what these professional hopes and dreams are for you. Freedom, yes. So I connect with that. When I think about my vision, I think about travel. I think about being able to see the world, being able to have experiences that inspire me to give back and share in other ways and diversify the ways that I'm helping people. Freedom is a really good word to describe that. The ability to create this vision starts with you. The power to change the world starts here. Carla says legacy. Yes, so legacy, having something to leave behind, having something to make an impact. I have a legacy plan, Carla. I'm glad that you said that. That's something that I resonate with as well. Here's some of my vision. So this is what's been shared with my team. We do a state of the company every quarter, and I say, here's where we were, here's where we are, here's where we're going. So we talked about owning our buildings, again, advancing opportunities as true teen specialists. I want to create a mental health movement. It's not just about therapy in the room, it's about how we create that ripple effect, right? And repeatable playbook, satellite sites, a scalable system, and legacy plan, as we just talked about. I have a 5-year target with my team that will make a massive impact on 5,000 families supported. We're on track for that. Again, I want to create that ripple effect. We will change the world one client, one group, and one conference at a time. And it's important that if you have a vision, that you know if you're on track to get there before it's too late. And this is where data is so important. You've probably seen in Facebook groups people talking about dashboards and KPIs. We have a really extensive dashboard that I've built out for my team and I build out for other therapists as well. And we meet weekly to look at the data, to look at what's on track, what's off track. And if it's off track, we're digging in and we're solving it so that we can continue moving towards our goals. You have to master the ability to resolve things that are off track so that you can get to that long-term goal, right? I've talked to a lot of therapists that like ignore the numbers until the end of the year. And then they're like, oh, we didn't hit our goals, or, oh, we weren't like on track for this. But if you had regularly checked in on it, then you would have had the ability to course correct sooner. Which is our 7th tool, your desert island numbers. This is what you're thinking about on a daily and weekly basis. Leaders who are entangled in the day-to-day typically just push these issues out of the way, right? They're like, I'll get to it next week. I'm in the day-to-day. I'm figuring out these, like, I'm putting out these fires. And then as a result, your company is held together with duct tape and twine, and eventually things break or bottleneck or implode, and things aren't working for you anymore. So I actually have everyone on my team enters their own numbers into the dashboard weekly. I see a lot of practice owners who are like, how do I get my therapist to meet their productivity goals or complete their utilization of, their office space? Well, because they're telling me if they're not meeting it, and they're telling me why they're not meeting it and what their plan is to get back on track with it. I want them to be accountable for their own numbers. And I want you to think about what numbers will tell you if you're off track. So it's really like 5 to 15 numbers that you look at in your business regularly to know whether you're headed in the right direction. For the sake of today, I want you to think about maybe like the 1 to 3 numbers that you could look at. Let's say you were on a desert island, or maybe you're in Hawaii this summer when there's a conference and I'll be in Hawaii. Maybe we're hanging out and you're like, let me just check in on my business and see what's going on. And so you open up your dashboard and you look at like 1 to 3 numbers and you're like, okay, things are good. Things are on track. Or you look at these 1 to 3 numbers and you're like, hold the phone. I need to go somewhere. I need to figure this out, or I need to empower the person who's in this position to figure this out. So let me pause for a minute. I want to understand from any of you, are there numbers that you look at now? Are there metrics that tell you whether your business is on or off track? I will say for me that one of the numbers I look at is total service sales weekly. I look at total direct hours weekly. Those are in my operations bucket, right? When I'm looking at marketing, I'm looking at things like number of inquiries, call conversion rate. When I'm looking in my finance HR department, I'm looking at my profit, I'm looking at my costs. So there are numbers that we look at regularly. I share them all in my program that I'll talk about soon, that, I share all the numbers in my dashboard. I share the formulas, I share why and how we do it. And you want to come up with the numbers that are right for you because they're connected to your goals. So you're really measuring like on track to your goals. When you can bring everything together, keep it running smoothly, have people accountable for their jobs, executing their jobs well, you have the right people in the right seats, you have the right support, you have the right structure for your business, you can stabilize your business so that you can scale where you want to scale. And that leads me to my bonus tool, which is the breakthrough blueprint. So what I have found is that most practices, and you probably know this too if you're in all the Facebook groups, have like a handful of the same problems that show up in different ways. And so myself and my friend Shailene Kite have put together this program. It's EOS Informed Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it teaches therapists several things. It teaches them to really clarify the vision that is their goal for their practice, that's based in their values, that's based in their mission. I'm going to get to your question in a second, Sarah. It helps them identify who are the right people to work with me towards this vision and who's misaligned and what do I do about that? How do I make sure that I'm tracking the right data to move me towards my goals? How do I make sure that all of my processes are smooth and aligned and I have the right quality assurance checkpoints in place? And so we've put together this program that is 8 seats for 8 months. It is 3 online days and then culminates with a 2-day trip in the Colorado mountains next April, where we are going to work together to make sure that you are on track with where your business is right now. You're moving in the direction of where you need to go, and you have that self-managing company that supports your goals, your dreams, your lifestyle, so that you're living the life that you want, right? Doing what you love with people you love, making a major impact in the world, making bank, and really enjoying it all. We work so hard and oftentimes forget to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And that's what I want to work on with you. So I'm going to take some questions and then we'll wrap up for today. Cheryl says, we look at the number of inquiries, call conversion, total revenue, average session rate, each clinician's number of sessions compared to their caseload commitment. I love these, Cheryl. My curiosity would be like what you do with those numbers, what you do if they're off track, how you manage things like that. Oh, now there are no open questions. I guess it was an error. Okay. So if there are any final questions, let's see, I have about 4 minutes that I will take them. What I would encourage you to do, if you're curious about the program, go ahead and go to becomeagroupguru.com/scale. I'll put it in the chat and then I'll answer this question, becomeagroupguru.com/scale. We have 2 cohorts going right now of this program. We have one that is growing and scaling new practice owners. So, 1 through 9 employees that want to stabilize their systems before they break, before they've hit the ceiling. And we actually have 5 spots left in that program. And then we have another cohort that is our established and scaling group practice owners. It's 10 plus employees. And these are the ones that may have had rapid growth or may have grown consistently. And now they're at a point where the systems and processes that they had in place for their practice at 0 to 9 employees are no longer working or sustaining their practice. And so they need the next level support so that they can move to their next level. And we only have 2 spots left in that program. And so if either of them resonate you, I really encourage you to either complete the application form or feel free to DM me on Facebook or Instagram and we can chat about it. But feeling really passionately about this. And again, it goes back to my own why of like, this is something that I struggled with for the past few years. And if I can give back and help somebody else not have that same struggle, not get to that same dark place that I did by giving them handing them the playbook basically to do it without that, then that means a lot to me. So I hope that you'll consider it if it resonates with you. Sarah said, do you have any advice for hiring a new therapist for the first time? Yes. Okay. Number 1, get really clear on the role and the expectations. I found when I was hiring, my friend Tanya said, start the way you want things to go when you're bigger. And I heard it, but I didn't listen to it. And so I was very flexible. I kind of let people decide on whatever they wanted to do, whatever you think is fine, it's okay. And so by the time we grew to a size where we are now, I had to make changes because things weren't working when everyone was running the show. So I had to make changes and I had to make things more systemized. And that led to some upheaval and it led to some people leaving because there was a new system that they did not want. They did not want that accountability. So I would say if you are hiring a new therapist for the first time, you want to get really clear on what is the role, what are the expectations. Don't compromise or negotiate on your vision or your expectations. Hold for the person who meets the values that you align with in your practice and the person who gets the position, like they actually understand it, that wants it, and that has the ability to complete the job. Yeah. Okay. I keep seeing a hand raised, but now it's not. All right, well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. This replay will be uploaded into the course content. I hope some of you will reach out to me. I look forward to staying connected and thank you for sharing some of your Friday with me. Have a great day. Bye.